you know that's where it goes. Uh, if you want to help John and Betty in their ministry, they do many things in their ministry that you don't know about. One of the things, they're just ready to go back to Burkina, and they're going to be calling all their pastors in and ministering to them. They're going to pay that whole thing out of their own finances. So that's one of the areas of ministry, and that's just one of them that I'm mentioning. So if you want it to go to John and Betty for their personal ministries, then just mark your envelope John Arnold, and it will go there. If you mark it Betty Arnold, it also will go there. And if you want it to go to one of the projects, she gets it. We all understand that one. So if you wanted to go to one of the projects, maybe you wanted to go to Wells, or you wanted to go to education, or you wanted to go those things, then that's one of the areas that you can mark. If you just wanted to go to one of the projects, you don't care, you can just put down projects, and that will also go to Engage Burkina, but they will call him and say, we have this much in, where's the biggest need? And so if you don't know where to go, that's a good thing to do, because then if there's a crisis, that crisis can be met. So on your way out, just drop your envelopes in one of those receptacles, and it will be counted. Somebody said, who do we make the check out to? You can make the check out to Faith Fellowship, and that way you'll be receipted here. If you make it out to John, then the receipt will come from his area. So the easiest thing is just make it out to Faith Fellowship, and then it will be receipted from here. Have you enjoyed John being here? It's been a great blessing. And we're going to have some ice cream afterwards. How many of you have gained? Never mind. I had just taken off 3 pounds, and I was so thankful for it. And I got on the scales this morning, and I put the whole 3 pounds back on. So that's only at faith. Only at faith. You either eating or preaching here. So just open up your hearts and let the Spirit of God move. John, we're so glad again to have you with us.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss you guys. I really enjoyed it, enjoyed being here, and I look forward to next time. Yes. And next time I'll have my wife with me, so that'll make it even better. I was telling her this afternoon, I says, you're on next time, girl. So be ready. She said, man, I don't even know I could speak anymore. I said, oh, yeah, I know where your messages are. I'll get them for you.
You know, there's something I need to say. Mary Jane Weisenstein is our missions director. Yep. She has the heart for missions.
Yes, she does.
And she's the one that really keeps things moving in our missionary area. And we just praise God for her and her ministry.
Yeah.
Because without her, we would not be nearly as mindful of what's going on. Thank you, Mary Jane.
Yep. She keeps me towing the rope, that's for sure. She gets me all connected, so that's awesome. And I just want to thank everybody. All the work downstairs over the last couple of days for feeding everybody, and people have been bustling everywhere to work. And I think that's neat, because you're working as community, everybody working together, and that's been awesome. So thank all of you. I thank Pastor. He had somebody contact him for a picture, one of his artistic beauties over there. I went and saw some of those, and long story short, this person actually was a roommate of Betty at Tacoma Falls College, and she asked him how much she owed him for the picture that she was getting, and he said, you don't owe me anything, but you could give a donation to Burkina Faso, and then she lit up to the Arnolds in Burkina, and she lit up and said, well, Betty was my roommate, so he's even hustling on the side for Burkina here with these pictures. So I just thought that was a neat story, how it it all came back together.
And
so
she told me I'm sending $300 for your painting, so that's the most I ever got for a painting. So.
Amen. So, yep, keep painting for Burkina, buddy. That's the way to go. I do have to apologize tonight to the kids because I forgot the cattle prod back at the hotel.
Anybody else have one?
It was sitting there and I forgot it. But you know what that means? I have to come back.
I got some jumper cables.
Yeah, that might be a little strong. I don't know. I know the cattle prod's fine. I don't know about the other stuff. But a big thank you to everybody for you've made me feel welcome, and I've enjoyed being here with you. You are making a difference in Burkina Faso, and I hope that you keep that in your mind, that you are making that difference. And in spite of the terrorism, God is doing great things in all these different areas that has allowed us to be able to share Jesus and show the love of Jesus. And more people are coming to Christ. You know, you always hear that the church of Jesus grows quicker when it's being persecuted. And that's what's happening right now in Burkina. So I really want to thank you for that. I shared with you briefly the other day that on Christmas Day, many of our churches were attacked while they were celebrating the birth of Jesus. And in those attacks, we had our first pastor killed in one of those attacks. And that's tragic, but he's with God, and that's good. But what I want you to know is that we have over 700 pastors. And as you are praying for their protection, we have only lost that one pastor in 3 years of war and terrorists attacking Christians. We've only lost the one. So your prayers are working. They are protecting them. And so I hope that encourages you to and as a reminder to continue to pray for them. They need our prayers. I wanted to share with you tonight from James chapter 2, verses 14 through 19. It says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, 'You have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by what I do.' You believe that there is one God. That's good. But even the demons believe that, and they shudder. We are not saved by works. There are religious groups that think they are saved by works. We are not saved by what we do on this earth, by our works. That will not get us into heaven. But, this is a big but, saved people do God's work. And if you are truly saved, you will do God's work. And that's what James, he wrote to confront the believers, people that profess to believe in Jesus Christ, but they had no fruit to show for it. They said, I'm a Christian, and maybe they attended church, but they had no fruit to show for their faith. And James goes even further by saying, if we say we believe, but we don't do anything about it, then is it really faith? It's dead. It's not faith. And then he goes a step further by saying that even the demons believe in the name of Jesus. Demons know God exists, and they shudder at the name of Jesus. And I have to tell the story of the demon snake tonight. It wasn't in my message tonight, but I have to tell it because Mr. Elijah requested to hear that story again about the demon snake. And it's a good story because it was reaching a tribe that had never ever heard the gospel of Jesus before. And if you go back into Revelation, it says that some from every tongue, tribe, and nation will be there. And Jesus will not be coming back until every tongue, tribe, and nation has heard the gospel. And in this incident, it was the Puguli tribe, not a single Christian. And that week that we went into the Puguli tribe to try to evangelize, the first village we went into, we got permission to show the Jesus film. And as we were setting up all of our equipment, all of a sudden we were surrounded by men with clubs and machetes and slingshots. And they said, "You have 15 minutes to pack up and get out of here, or we're going to crush everything that you have." And I looked at the pastors. I says, "We're going. We're getting out of here." And we packed everything up, and the pastor took his shoes off and dusted it off like it says. And we got in the car, and as I started the truck to leave, this young man came and tapped on the window. I rolled the window down just a bit to see what he wanted, and he said, "Please don't go. We want to hear what you have to say." And I told him, "We can't stay, but I promise you we will be back somewhere in this area. You just look at night for a glow in the sky, and that's our generator lit up with lights ready to do evangelism. When you see that glow in the sky, you ride your bike over there and you'll hear what we have to say." 2 kilometers up, another village, they gave us permission to come in and share Jesus if we would bring medical help. And we brought our 2 nurses who have a mobile unit, a mobile medical unit, and they came and stayed, and they did medical during the day, and then at night we were to do evangelism. We got permission from the chief, but we had a problem because this was the Puguli tribe. We didn't know Puguli. My pastors spoke French, they spoke Jula, and that's it. So we were going to translate into Jula, but we had to get it from Jula to Puguli so that they could understand it. And there was no Jula Puguli translator. So then we found somebody that could translate it from Jula to Dagari, but we still had to get it from Dagari to Puguli. We had nobody, so we had to go to the chief and ask, "Do you have somebody that can translate for us from Dagari to Puguli?" And he says, "I have just the person for you." I said, "Great." And then that night, the first thing out of the pastor's mouth was, "We have come to tell you about this one called Jesus." So it started down the line, 4 translators, down to the one that the chief had given us. Well, we found out later that the chief had given us the town drunk. That was our translator. And it translated all the way down to him, and then he looked back up at everybody and he threw his hands up. He had no idea how to translate Jesus. he didn't know what Jesus meant. He did not know that Jesus was a person. He had no clue. That really floored me, because we always listen and hear about the unreached peoples that have never heard, you know. But here I was sitting there and actually seeing it with my own eyes, that they didn't even know, they hadn't even heard about Jesus. And I thought, oh man, this is really going to go good. Because they had to explain to him on a little sidebar over here who Jesus was, so that he could be able to explain it to the people. And I'm sitting there shaking my head thinking, this is not going to go good. And we did evangelism that night. We did the Jesus film. They translated that all the way through. It was a long time. And asked if anybody wanted this Jesus. That night, 13 Pugalis accepted Jesus. And I had been sitting there that whole time thinking, God, this is not going to work. I mean, look at what we got. We have the town drunk. He doesn't know. How are they going to understand? And I learned that night, God's got it. You just have to be willing to do what he asks you to do, and he's going to take care of the details. And that night, 13 Pugali came to Christ. Well, word got back to the witch doctor. So the second night, same thing. Everybody's there. And I thought, this is going to be a great night. We're sitting there, and I'm in the middle because I have all the equipment, and the people are in a circle around us. And the kids are laying on the ground, playing with the sand and dirt, waiting for the movie to start so that they can see that. And all of a sudden, this black snake, about 4 feet long, it's right there in the center, right up there in front of me. And I couldn't figure out how this snake got into the middle of the circle, went through that wall of people, and didn't bite anybody. Nobody screamed. And nobody moved. And this snake just started to go right for the pastor who was up talking about Jesus. The pastor saw the snake coming. And we have metal stakes that we use to put up our electrical posts and stuff. And he picked up one of these extra ones. I don't know why we had extra ones laying there, but God knew. And he picked up one of these, and the snake got close, and he smashed the head of the snake. And he kept on preaching. And I'm sitting there. Nobody got up to kill that snake. And that doesn't happen in Africa, because there's snakes all the time, and people jump up, they kill it, they shove it aside, and you go on. But everybody froze. I'm saying, what is with that? Went through the service, gave the invitation. I thought, oh, this is going to be really good. Nobody moved. Not a person. Now, the night before, 13 people. This night, nobody. And so, after the service, we were putting up all the equipment. And I noticed the 4 pastors I had with me, they were up by the snake, and they were talking. And they were waving their hands, and doing all this stuff. So I went up there and I said, what are you guys doing? And they had this snake, and they had him stretched out like this, and they're looking at it and talking. And when they don't know what to do with me, they just call me white man. And they say, white man, you wouldn't understand. And I said, you're right. I don't understand. But if you don't tell me, how can I understand so I can tell somebody, the people in America that pray for us? And they said, okay, we think this is a demon snake. Now, I had never heard of a demon snake before that night. And so I said, okay, demon snake, what does that mean? Because I saw that snake go across the ground, And it has scales, just like any other snake. It was real. And they said, well, just wait a minute. And they had sent somebody for a knife, and they cut this snake open all the way down. There was nothing inside it. There was flesh. It had scales, but there were no entrails. There was no blood system. I said, that thing was alive. And they said, well, it's a demon snake. And the witch doctor he can take a piece of cloth, he can take a piece of rope, and he can transform it into a shell of a snake. And then he will take a spirit, an evil spirit, and he will put that evil spirit in that snake to motorize it, to make it go, with whatever curse he has given, which in this case, the curse was for it to bite the pastor, strike the pastor, and then the pastor would die there. And that would keep the people locked in fear. See, animism, worshiping evil spirits, worshiping the devil, it's all about fear. Those people are worshiping the devil. They are making sacrifices with chickens every single month, not because they want to, but because of fear. Fear that if they don't do it, somebody in their family is going to die. Now, I saw it. And I went and told the other when I told the other missionaries, they thought I had too much to drink or something. And I don't drink, so. But you look in Exodus chapter 7. When you go home, look in Exodus chapter 7. When Moses and them threw their staff down and it became a snake, and then Pharaoh called his magicians, sorcerers, witch doctors, and they did the same thing by their secret arts. See, our witch doctors in Africa, they come down through the line of the blacksmith, and they will go off to live in a cave for 2 to 3 years, alone, solitary, where they have communication with the devil. And the devil gives them the powers that they need to be able to put curses on people and have them drop dead anywhere. And every tribe is different. The Pugali tribe, they use the snake as their source. The Bois tribe that I worked with used poison. Hence, they poisoned our well and tried to kill us. The Senefu tribe, the witch doctor will cut himself and he'll write your name in his blood and you'll drop over dead. And that's what I say, that if we belong to Christ and we're walking with him, that verse I read on Friday night, nothing can harm us. He can't get us. We are protected by Jesus Christ. And they can't touch us. They've tried. A witch doctor in Burkina could send a fly. There could be a fly over here that had poison on it that landed on your glass that you shoot off and then you drank from and you would drop dead. That is the kind of power God has allowed the devil to have for a while, for a short time. Yeah, his days are numbered. So here we have this demon snake. The witch doctor intended it to kill the pastor to stop any more people from coming to Christ and have those people come back. And that's why nobody in the crowd moved. Everybody had froze because they knew it was a curse from the witch doctor. And if they got involved, then they would die. So, obviously, the next couple of nights, we had over 100 people come to Christ. Because the Lord took what the devil tried to do, flipped it around. That was that power encounter. and Jesus won. And people realized then that in that fear, they didn't have to have that fear anymore. If they had Jesus, Jesus would protect them just like he protected that pastor. And so that's how the Pugali tribe started. And I'm happy to say to you tonight that we have 21 churches in Pugali villages now. And I don't even know how many thousand believers. I mean, I've lost count. I was in the 2,000 range, and I've lost count since I've been away. But God is good, and all the time. And so that was a sidebar. The poor must see some concrete reason for hope before they are willing to listen to the gospel. You can go to a third world country and you can say to somebody, hey, let me tell you about Jesus. You can do that. You're not going to get anywhere. They might listen, but they're not going to be convinced about that, because their question to you is going to be, well, if this Jesus is such a God of love, then why are there terrorists killing my family? Why don't we have enough to eat? Why can't my kids go to school? Why are they dying because of bad water? If this Jesus is such a Jesus of love, why is all of this happening to me? You can't start there. You have to start with concrete things that apply to them. Hence, we have the drilled wells. We have the garden projects. We have the food distributions. We have the medical help. We have the cattle prod. All these things that meet them where they're suffering, and then gives you the opportunity to share about Jesus. Because then they see the love of Jesus being manifested before their eyes. Instead of it just being words, it's action and truth. And so that's where we're at. And that's why all these projects are important. And that's why you all have gotten involved in that. And, you know, we're going to go into some pictures now. And I can't wait. I really can't wait till you all get to heaven. And you get to see the Burkina Faso brothers and sisters that you've had a direct connection to getting them to heaven. You know, that's going to be an awesome day, time, whatever. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait. Okay, we're going to go to the pictures. Yep. Well, that's the baobab tree, the tree of life. And if you've been to Disney World, you see the tree of life at Disney World. That comes from Burkina, the tree of life. You were asking me about trees to climb. How about climbing that tree? This is called the tree of life. And the baobab tree, they eat the leaves. The leaves, they make their sauce out of the leaves. It is the worst tasting sauce, I promise you. That I cannot stomach it. I can't. But they love it. And it becomes a slimy green paste. And when you put your little rubber patty in that thing, it pulls and pulls. And you got to count, and then it's slime. Anyway. But that's the tree of life, and it keeps them alive, right? Next. Terrorism, like we've been talking about. Next. That's after they attacked one of our villages. Next. I don't want to. The good part is the military is gaining control of some of these areas. It's just so much, and our military is not that big to be able to be in too many spots at once. But as you're going to see, because of all of this, a lot of the projects are taking fruit, and I mean, people are coming to Christ. Next. These men are important men. They are Mosi Nabas, and a Naba is a king. These are all Mosi kings from the Mosi tribe. They're very important men, and God has been really good to us because these men are on our side. And they appreciate what we are doing for their people. And most of them, the one over to the very right, that's our pastor, but the others, most of them are Muslim. But they have a great rapport with us, and we're witnessing to them. They're Nabas, so they don't think that they can come to Christ. They just don't know it yet, that they can come to Christ. And you can pray for them, but because of them, we're able to do much of what we do. Okay? Next. Water. Water, I believe, has been the key in Burkina from day one. Water is the most important thing that we need. How many of you have ever been with water cuts? Have had a water cut? Nobody? Wow. You guys are like, water cut where you didn't have water for days or weeks? Yeah? A couple days. Was it tough? A little bit, wasn't it? It is. And when you have water and then you don't have it, it's tough. But when you think about it, when you don't have water and you never have had water, it's just part of life. But we are so lucky because we can flip a faucet, we can turn on the shower, all that. And so when you're at home and you're flipping on your faucets or whatever, I want you to think about Burkina and just say a short prayer when you're doing that water. Thank God, first of all, that you do have water. And then pray for Burkina, that those that don't have water, that we will be able to get them water. But these girls, they'll spend their whole life chasing water. And that's why education is something that is so important. Because if they're not in school, they're doing that every day for the rest of their life. And going to these mud puddles. Next, taking water from these green marigos. Next. Or this one actually has a well in there that they're trying to, a hand dug well that they're trying to pull water from. Next. But I think this says it all. Lord, if I'm ever ungrateful, forgive me. We take water for granted. But water is key in Burkina for the gospel. And many have come to Christ. Next. This is a hand-dug well. I talked about, remember, drilled wells, hand-dug wells, and then repairing pumps. Those are the three ways that we can get water to people. This is a hand-dug well, and they go anywhere from 60 feet down to 150 feet, dug by hand. Guy just has a stick that he turns in there that's 5 feet wide, 5 feet long stick that he turns as he digs, and somebody's up there pulling it up, bucket by bucket, until they get water. The thing about this is you can get water, and then when it gets into dry season, the water gets low and tables out. But then you can dig down another 5 or 10 feet and hit water again. And so if it does dry out, you can go further. You're not stuck. But This is better in low-lying areas where there's a higher water table. And then next, and then of course we have the water pumps, and those are important. The problem is with the water pumps is that they break. The seals go. We use stainless steel pipes. The government, when they get projects, they stick the money in their pocket and they put galvanized pipe down. And in 2 years, the galvanized pipes are rusted and they're got holes. And the pumps don't work. And so we have thousands of pumps that are locked up. Next. But these kids, when we're testing the water like this and pumping it out, they don't even know what a shower is. You know, it's a bucket bath. And then all of a sudden to have water in abundance like that, it's like, I don't know, like they've gone to heaven or something. They just think this is the neatest thing. We don't want to show them too much because we can't give them that every day. But next. This is Asnat and Sanat that I talked about, the two girls that I talked about this morning that lost their dad and brother, and then a week later they lost their mom. These are the two girls, and the pastor has taken them in as his own in that village. This is the pump that we drilled in dedication to their mom. Next, this was the line that I was talking about when their mom came. This is the kind of line. All these people are waiting in line for their turn at the pump. And you can wait there for 5-6 hours, just depending on how long the line is, to get your 1 bucket or 2 buckets of water. It is a chore every day to get water for your family. Next. And those are the two girls, beautiful girls, and they have a home now with the pastor. And we dedicated that pump next. This was at the dedication of that pump where 218 people accepted Jesus Christ at that dedication for their mother. And to me, that's just an amazing sight. And then, of course, you'll see at the end some of the baptisms. Next. This is what the pumps look like when they break. And that was clear water at one time. Now that's rusty water. And we have thousands of pumps that are chained up that don't work. See, when we put a pump in, we train somebody. We have people trained in different areas that can repair the pumps. And we can get the supplies for them to repair the pumps. When the government puts them in, there's nobody to repair them. And the people can't afford to repair them. And so they just chain them up and lock them up. Next. But when we get a pump like that, we have to pull all the insides out. And as you could see on that last one, it was galvanized. That's why it was so rusty, the water. And then we put in stainless steel pipes. Drop in stainless steel, which will go 8 to 10 years instead of 1 to 2 years. And we go around. We've repaired over 200 pumps now. The pumps, to repair a pump is like $1,000, but we can repair 7 pumps for the price of 1 new drilled. And so we have villages saying, "Hey, we need a new well. We need a pump." And we go to check it out, and they've got 2 drilled wells there that are chained up. I said, "No, you don't need a new one. You just need these repaired." And then for $2,000, we can repair both of them, and they have double the water, and they're good to go. But they don't realize that. Next. You can see the mosque in the background of this one. We repaired this pump in Ouagadougou. The imam of the mosque asked if we could help them, and we said, sure, we can repair your pump. And we took a team, actually, to repair that pump. And actually, the imam was out there with us that day, right beside us, trying to help us. And at the end of the day, this is what was coming out. Beautiful, clean water. And we told the imam, we said, okay, you have water now. We need to thank Jesus. And we're going to pray over this well and ask God to protect it and to give you good, clean water. And so we prayed over this well with laying our hands on. After we got done, the imam looked at us. He says, well, can we pray now? Can we pray for this well too? And I said, sure, go ahead. Pray for the well. And they did something I've never seen before. They prayed like we did, standing with their arms out over the well, not doing their bowing towards Mecca and all of that. And afterwards, he came to Pastor Yusuf, which you saw in the one picture, and said, you are our brothers. Now, he's talking to Christians, and he says, you are our brothers. Only you. But you are our brothers because you have reached out to help us when we needed your help, and you did it willingly. So you're our brothers now. My people can go to your church, but they can only go to your church. They can't go to any other church because you are our brothers. So there is a close, even to this day, there's a close connection with that imam. And some of their people have been coming to our church. And he has been fine with that. So that's a benefit of the repaired wells. Next. The terrorism leads to this. And these are people without cooking over. I mean, they're used to cooking over open fires anyway, even in their homes, but there's just nowhere to go. Next. And so they're just out. Don't have anything that they can do. This was the what I talked about this morning, where the kids, the 1,600 kids that were freezing to death at night because, well, you see what she's wearing. That's all she's got. Next. You see what they're wearing. That's what they have, and they're sleeping on the ground, and they just get cold at night. So next, these were some of the kids and some of the families that were there, part of that group of 1,600. Next. They're trying to give them a little pieces of corn so that they have something to eat right there, but there are some of those kids without food, and we were able to bring food, and that was some of the monies that we used from here to help these children. Next. And then we brought in food, and that's the food in the background in the trucks coming in to help the different families. Next. And those are the mats, and then there were blankets. All that was given to this group to help them, and you were part of that. So I wanted you to be able to see it for your own, with your own eyes. Next. The other thing is, you go from that and you go to starvation. And I don't know if you've ever been hungry, if you've ever been starving. I'm sure you've been hungry, but have you been to the point of starving? I can't even imagine going there. But this picture says it all, with the vulture sitting there waiting for that poor little child to die. Next. So our food distributions are very, very important. And each one of these bags is a bag of corn. It's got 220 pounds of corn in it. And one bag will feed a family of 6 for about 6 weeks. So each bag, depending on the size of your family, that you can figure it out. And that's with them eating 2 good meals a day, which most of them, right now, they're lucky to eat 1 meal every 2 or 3 days, and it's not necessarily good. Next. And this is a food distribution where everybody's waiting. And next. And then in some of the food distribution, some of them, they get whole sacks of corn. In other ones, depending on how much food we have to break the sacks up, and we pour the corn out, and then they get like 2 or 3 buckets of those buckets of corn in, and they bring a sack, and we fill it, and then they go. And that's what we do. We do this at our handicap disabled ministry there, where they come every month, and they get 2 or 3 buckets to help them. Next. And after the corn distribution, this really jerked my heart, because after the distribution's over and we've done it all, and we're sitting there or we're standing around and we're praying, I felt people at my feet. And we're praying, and so I look down, and here's kids like that, and that's a lady there, but usually it's the kids, and they were crawling in between our legs, picking up 1 kernel at a time. Every single kernel that you see there will be picked up before they leave. Next. It's an old boy. He was the one that was crawling around between my legs. And he had a little sack there, and he was filling his little sack so that he could take it home to share it with his mom. Next. Garden projects are another big thing right now, and we use solar panels next to run the pumps, and they pump the water into these basins that we have positioned around, and then the women take their big old cans, spray cans, and that's how they're able to water and maintain these gardens. Next. And the women all work together. You can see, as far as you can see, is all part of the garden project. And it's giving them hope and responsibility. All they need is an opportunity. And they're getting the opportunity to be able to work to supply for their families. And that makes them feel good. I mean, it's tiring to be just sitting there with your hands out, waiting for handout. It's another thing when you can actually work and provide for your family. And that's what these garden projects are doing. It's allowing them to provide for their families and at the same time hear the gospel message. Next. And then you see the beautiful garden. Next. Claudia was a student. She had come home to her family for the summer, and she was preparing to take the important tests to get her into university. And while she was home with her family preparing to get into the university, the terrorists came. They killed her mother and her father. And she was left with her 3 other siblings that are younger. So here she is, an internally displaced person. She's got 3 younger siblings that she's now responsible for, and no way to help them, much less be able to take her exams to go to university. And she testified when this is the garden project that just came in February. When this one came in, she got into the garden project. So she's working in the garden project. And this has allowed her also to be able to buy the books and stuff that she needs to do the studies. And she's going to be taking the tests this summer. So pray for Claudia that she will pass those tests so that she can go to the university. But she has testified that this has given her new life because she can take care of her younger siblings and at the same time maybe be able to push for her dream. Next. These are water troughs that are at the garden projects too, because we have the Fulani, the tribe called the Fulani, and they are cattle herders. That's all they do is cattle herd. And so we got the idea of let's make water troughs there too, which will give the Fulani opportunity to be able to water their cattle because water is so scarce. And that has been, the Fulani are very, very strict Muslims and very, very hard to reach. But this is opening up doors and opportunities for the Fulani to hear the gospel. Because why would you provide water for us and our cattle? Most of the tribes don't like the Fulani because they're more nomadic and they just come in and go and leave. And so this is a good opportunity. Next. Medical is another big problem that we have. And you can see there's not much there. There's a slab for her to lay on and some makeshift IV thing there, and that's basically it. They don't get the medical attention that they need because they're out in the bush, and they need to be able to get to a town where they have better medical service, but they have no way to do that. So next. So we took a 3-wheeler and we turned it into an ambulance and made it into an ambulance. It's a 3-wheeler that had a dump bed on it, and we made it into an ambulance so that these people, they can be transported quickly, especially pregnant women who lose their babies because they can't get to a place where they can get the proper medical care. Next. This lady, she was attacked, and her leg was pretty much gone at that point. And the pastor called me and said, "Do you have any funds?" You can turn it to the next one. We don't have to look at that. Yeah. Do you have any funds so that we can have this lady's leg amputated? And so I was on the WhatsApp call with him, and I says, "Well, is amputation the only way? Have you asked if her leg can be saved before we amputate?" "Well, they just want it amputated because it's the cheapest way to go, and they don't have the money." And I says, "Well, check." And they checked with a doctor, and he said, "Yes, we can save the leg, but it's going to be $3,000. I told the pastor, "Fix it. We have the emergency fund." This lady, there she is on the left. She has kids. She would have had a hard time taking care of her kids with one leg. And they saved her leg, and she's going to be fine. That's the pastor's wife on the other side. And she became a Christian because of that mercy, that compassion that was shown to her. Next. This is Baraka Wendam, the one I talked about this morning. She's the girl that was beaten. Next. And she was in a makeshift place until we could get a hold of her and brought her down. And she had to have some surgery and for internal things. And next, this is her now. Complete transformation. And she is learning to sew, to be a tailor, so that she can support herself. She lost her family, but she's got Christ and she's got a new family with the brothers and sisters. So that's Baraka Wyndham. Thank God. And next, this lady, we arrived in a village, and she had left her baby there to the side, and she threw herself down a well. She tried to kill herself, threw herself down the well. She was demon possessed, and the demons made her throw herself down the well to kill herself when we got there. And so we were able to talk to her next, and we were able to pray. We prayed for several hours with her, and were able to get the demons bound and cast out of her. And after we got the demons bound and cast out of her, then we went to her little house, and we got all of her idols and fetishes that she used for demon worship, and we put them in that little pile there with straw, and we burned them to the glory of God. Said, you do not need this anymore. You have Jesus in your heart. And she became a Christian. She gave her heart to Christ. And the last time I was there, she was there with all the Christian women, and it's amazing. Next. This is the baptism that I was talking about this morning too. And you can see they're all lined up, ready to go in that nice crystal clear water, blue water. Next. And this is what it's all about. All of the projects that you are a part of, that you've helped, all the stories that you've heard, the end game is this: go ye into all the world and preach, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And half the village came down to watch these get baptized. And you can see the girl in the yellow, she's headed out to get baptized, and they're going to sing her all the way out there, and they're going to sing her all the way back in. They sing the Bible. Sing her out, sing her back. And then the next one. Next. And they're being baptized to the glory of God. Next. Next. I think that's about it. Okay. Next. See, it's nice clear water. Next. And the thing that's neat, we had from, I guess they were about 8 years old, from the young all the way up to the elderly being baptized. They had to help her, carry her in, and they carried her out. But she belongs to Jesus, and she was baptized. Next. That's it. Good. Okay, you can leave that there. But Luke chapter 15. I just want to leave you with this. Luke 15, verses 8 through 10. They're talking about the parable of the lost coin. And it says, suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. And you have seen these people, and there has been rejoicing in heaven over all these people, that the stories you've heard this weekend, what you've just seen, the pictures that you've heard. There's been rejoicing in heaven over those lost souls that have come to Jesus Christ. And so I just want to thank you, because a lot of it is possible because you're willing to be a part of God's plan. Not only here in Butler, which you are the plan here, but you're also part of the plan in Burkina and other parts of the world. So take that faith that you have and show your faith by what you do. You say you believe, show your faith by what you do. And may people be able to know that you are a child of God because of what you do. You had a question?
I did. What happened to that starving baby? You know what happened to the vulture?
The vulture? The baby was saved. Yeah. Yeah. No. I don't think I could have showed a picture if the vulture had gotten it. But I showed a disgusting picture? Oh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you know how fortunate you are?
Yeah, you swallowed a pin. The other lady down. Did they bring any charges against her, or did they just say it's an accident?
They had I don't know what happened to her in the end, but there was a, what do they call it? An enquête. I've got French stuck in my head. They had a, what do you call it? Not a hearing, but a search or whatever to investigation. There you go, an enquête. Yeah, they had an investigation. The problem is they had a lot of people there, so there was a lot of witnesses, and they saw that it was an argument, and it wasn't intentionally trying to kill her. She pushed her back, like, you got to get away. That's not your turn. So I don't think. I can't answer honestly one way or the other on that one.
Did you become a Christian? Do you know?
That lady? That I don't know either. I know 218 did, but I don't know which ones. Because I got the report from my guy, yeah.
Is there any blue water anywhere over there?
Blue?
Yeah. Coming out of the wells, right?
Well, I can paint my bucket blue and then put some water out of the well in it, and it looks blue then. But no, we don't. We're landlocked. We have a river, got hippos and crocodiles, but no blue water. And when the rains come, then everything gets muddy. Yes.
You mentioned snakes. What other wildlife do you have in that area? Or did they all get eaten before?
No, we have lions, we have elephants. I know about the elephants because I got chased by the elephants. We have lions, we have warthogs, we have antelope, we have baboons, monkeys.
Do people try to
Yeah,
get them to eat?
yeah, they hunt them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You said that some of the kids are looking forward to going to university. Where do they go on from there? Like after university?
Well, hopefully after university they get jobs. They're qualified to get jobs. In the cities, yeah. They'll get jobs in the city, or a lot of them are trying to learn English well and even take it in college, in the universities, so that they can get jobs with the mining companies, the gold mining companies and stuff as a translator, or they can get out of Burkina with that English that they know and get a job in Europe somewhere with English and French. But their only hope is to get through university if they're going to get a job. Otherwise, there's just not. They don't want to go back to the villages. If you ask any university student, they do not want to go back to where they grew up. All it is difficulty.
What is the average tuition? Do you have any idea how much it would cost her to go to university?
The university is expensive. I think it's like $800. Well, I mean, it's expensive for Burkina. It's not expensive for here when you're talking 40 to 60,000 a year, but it would be about $800 to $1,000 a year. But that's pretty high when you're thinking of what $1,000 can do. Yeah.
Would it be fun moving from United States to Burkina?
Would it be fun?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It would be fun. I guess that's it. Oh, we got. Most of them are venomous. Not all of them. The problem is you have like the green tree snake, which is not venomous, and then you have the green mamba, which we call the 3-step snake. You get bit, you take 3 steps, and you die, type of thing. So those two look really, really close. It's just a difference in the color of their head a little bit. But I've seen both, but I wouldn't risk saying, oh, well, he's fine. To me, the only good snake is a dead snake. I hate to say that, but it's because of what I've grown up with. But most of them are poisonous. We have those two, and then we have the pythons. We have the small pythons, royal pythons. They're only 5 or 6 feet long. And then we have the rock pythons that get up to 30 feet long. Just 30 feet. Yeah. What? Yes, we have the cobra. One of our tribes in Burkina, they hunt the python, the rock python, the big 30-footers. And they will find the caves or the holes that they live in where they are, and then they choose a person. I choose Elijah. And you get that person, and you're going to lower them into the hole. And what they do is, like they will have killed a goat or something, and they'll get the blood, and they'll soak the blood in rags, and they will tie the rags around that person's foot, the one that's been chosen. And then they will lower him down into the hole. And when he gets down to where the python is, the python will open his mouth and start locking in on his feet. And when he feels that, then he jerks on the line and hopes those are his buddies up there. And then they will pull him up. And when they pull him up, they pull the snake up out of the hole, and then they kill the snake, and they have the food, and then they have the skins that they sell and stuff. So it's their way of life. So I guess everybody in the circle will get their turn at some point. But I don't want to be the first one, because I don't know if I could trust the ones up there to get me up in time. So. Huh? Oh, we would find a way to get you in there, buddy. We're not letting you cop out with that one. We'll just find a bigger hole.
Use a groundhog or something. I mean,
You would think you could use something else, but that's what they do. That's part of their. That might be part of their initiation. I don't know, but that's what they do. So, okay. Any other questions? We got any volunteers? Yeah. Yes, we have 700 cattle prods distributed. Every one of our pastors has a cattle prod. We went through a period just a couple years ago where the batteries were going, so I had to get batteries. They're just 9 volts, but had to get them batteries. I had taken out a big box like this of just batteries that somebody gave me because their business was closing down and they had them all. So I was able to just give those out, but they are all functioning. In fact, I got a story just I think it was February. A man was out walking somewhere and he got bit by a snake. And he wasn't a Christian and he knew he was going to die. And the neat thing is that everybody that gets by these snakes now, they know that their only shot is to go to the pastor of the church who has the cattle prod, because that's God. We call it God's medicine. And that they need to get there. And this guy was trying to get to the pastor, and he was crawling and doing everything that he could to get to the pastor. And somebody came along to help him, and he says, if that pastor can help me, he says, I'm going to follow the Jesus way. Wow. But he thought for sure he was dying. And they got him to the pastor. Pastor was able to shock him over the course of the 2 days. And he was healed. And he's now walking with God. So,
do any of the other mission areas, other countries use the cattle prod?
I'm not sure. I know, yeah, in Ivory Coast they used it. I mean, because of us, Betty got the word out everywhere. You know, she called it "Shocking Jesus," "Shocking Burkina for Jesus," is what was her title. That was the title she used, and that's how it got spread all over. But I don't know if they've taken it as serious as what we did in Burkina. But it's been a tremendous witnessing tool. You know, at first when we had it, you know, it was like, well, the white people got this magic. And that's what we had to, right away, we had to come up with something that this is not magic. And this is God's medicine. But what's going to heal you is not this tool, but is when we pray and ask Jesus to heal you. This is God's medicine. And that's the way we've put it out. And everybody knows that it's there. So it's not until they get bit then that maybe they're willing to follow Jesus, but it's a good push.
What exactly does the cattle prod do, like medically? Like, does it help them with like the blood?
I have not gotten a scientific report on any of it. The way that it started was somebody in South America was bitten by a snake, and he knew he was going to die. And he was going across the field as fast as he could to try to get there to get an anti-venom shot. And he stumbled into an electric fence. And he got tangled in the electric fence. And when he got out of the electric fence, he got to the doctors, and the doctors were amazed that he was still alive. And they said, this can't be. But it was actually the electric fence that saved this guy. And what they're saying is that in the venom of snakes that attack your blood system, not the ones like the mambas or the cobras and stuff that attack your nervous system, but the ones that attack your blood system, that there's an electric charge in the poison, in that poison makeup. And so when you use the cattle prod, and if you use something else to shock, it neutralizes and it breaks it down. It doesn't just, like, if I was bitten on the finger and I came to my wife and I said, well, it hurts right here in my shoulder. The poison has traveled all the way up my arm to here. She would start right there with the cattle prod. She would give me a shock, and then every couple of inches down all the way to the bite, and then all the way back up the other side. That would be one treatment. I would come back in a couple of hours, and she would ask me, where does it hurt now? And I would say, well, it hurts down here. So it stopped it from going into the lymph nodes and all that, and it's already broken it up down to there, so she'd start there then until there's no more pain. And you know you've cleaned it out. So, I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, we had a 1-month-old baby. Can you imagine a 1-month-old baby? And the mother had put it down in its little bassinet, and there was a viper in that bassinet, and that viper bit that baby 3 times before the mother could get the baby out. And they brought the baby to the hospital in the town we were living in, and the hospital said, we can't do anything for that baby. The baby's going to die. He said, the only hope you have is to go up and see the missionaries up on the hill and see if they can help you or not. And they brought the baby up, and my wife looked at me and she said, I'm afraid to shock the baby. I'm afraid to stop the heart of the baby being that small. But said the baby's going to die anyway. And so she shocked the baby, and they came back several more times, 2 days shocking the baby, and the baby was healed fine. And they came up the 3rd day with these 2 chickens in their hand to give us a gift of thanks because of saving the baby. So a lot of it for us at the time that we started was learning as we went. The first thing that we had was like a solenoid from a motorbike, and then we had a line of batteries, and then a long threaded bolt, and it was hooked to that, and you would take the 2 cables and you would put it on both sides, and then you would scrape the other thing across the bolt, and it would shock. But with the cattle prod, it's just a surface shock, so we have to do both sides. But with the other one, you could do it and it would go right through it. But I actually like the cattle prod better because I wouldn't want to be going through somewhere where I stop somebody's heart or something like that. But we've only ever had 1 person die with using the cattle prod. And that was a lady that came in and she was already 6 days. She was bleeding out all of her pores. It had thinned her blood out, and she was just bleeding everywhere, just out of the pores of her skin. And we couldn't, it was too late for her. But that's the only person that's died from. So it is amazing. I mean, because so many of them would be dead. Because anti-venom would work, but in a country where you don't have electricity and you got to keep anti-venom on ice or keep it cool, in 120 degrees you're not going to keep it cool, and it's just, there's no way. And then they're not going to get the anti-venom out in the bush. So this has become a real lifesaver.
Are the hospitals or the medical facilities not accepting and not using that?
The one in our village came and asked us if we would give him one. And my wife said, yeah, we will give you one, but I need to train you how to use it first. And she trained them how to use it and gave them one so that they wouldn't have to send them to her every time, you know. But they want, when they get them, they use it as a moneymaker. I mean, it would be like selling anti-venom. Well, we're going to sell you the use of this, you know. Whereas for us, it's not. It's not. So, yeah, and they don't hear the gospel. But, I mean, they save the people, but it's going to cost you to go to those places.
And I had another question. Are you aware of the number of unreached
Tribes in our... There's a list of them. If you look at the Joshua Project, there's a list. We're working with a church in Minnesota, Riverside, and they're been for the last 8 years working on getting the Dogosei off the project list, and we're up to 600 and something believers now, and that they need about. I think it's you're supposed to get 2%. 2% takes them off the unreached people groups, and they're over halfway there, and so it's neat to see that kind of thing. And the Puguli was from our church in West Ridge, and that they're off the unreached people group now. But I don't know how many are still. There's still quite a few people groups. I mean, probably some that I haven't even heard. Yeah, that I haven't even heard of yet. Yeah.
Is it too early to ask them to go and be evangelists in their own area?
Who?
The people who are getting saved, those tribes. Would they be sent out, so to speak?
Oh yeah, we just 2 years ago we just had our first Puguli. Our first Dogosei, the one from Riverside, pastor, go to Bible school, and he just graduated. It's the first one. And that out of the 600 converts that they have, we have a pastor now out of that. And then with the Puguli, we have several. Yeah.
The Alliance of Bible School.
Yeah.
The
Alliance Bible School. They have 2 Bible schools. One is in French. And the French one, you have to have a 6th grade education to be able to get into the Bible school. Because 6th grade is where a lot of people stop, because that's where the testing takes place. And then the other Bible school is the trade language, Jula. And you don't have to have an education there, but you have to be able to read and write in Jula to be able to go to school there. And that's where I just got the pictures on Friday night of the 29 Jula pastors that graduated, that are going to their new villages. So, yep. Got it? Thank you, guys. Appreciate your interest, too. Appreciate your prayers. Huh? We forgot the ice cream with the cattle prod. We forgot it. It's with the cattle prod. Sorry. What are you clapping for? I thought you wanted ice cream.
If you have any other questions when we're downstairs, feel free to.
A lot, as you can tell. And I have had a lot cut off. All over my face. I got scars everywhere. They've done a good job because you don't see them that much, but I grew up out there too. And being a teenager and stuff, and without a shirt and all that, and back in 40 years ago, you wanted a suntan. Oh, yeah. And it was nothing about sunscreen. It was about suntan. And that's what they told me. I mean, I use it now. The doc says, well, it's a little late, you know. And it just keeps coming. I mean, he takes it off and it comes back up through the skin or something. So, but I figure when God's done with me, He's done with me. So it won't matter at that point.